All right, let's dive into something that is, well, absolutely critical for any brand out there: your unique value proposition. We're going to talk about how you can stop using generic slogans and start crafting powerful, data backed promises that actually drive growth. So, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been scrolling or shopping and just thought, wow, every brand in this space sounds exactly the same? It's a huge frustration, right? And it points to a much bigger problem in marketing. And at the very heart of that problem is the UVP. It's supposed to be the one single reason a customer should pick you. That's it. When it's sharp and clear, it's magnetic. But when it's not, you're really just adding to all the noise out there. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. We've all seen these phrases, right? Best quality, affordable, a trusted brand. They feel safe to say, but they're so generic they could apply to literally anyone. You end up lost in this giant sea of sameness. So, this really sets up the big showdown we're talking about today. The huge divide between the old way of doing things, basically guesswork, and the new, powerful approach that's driven by data. Okay, let's just break this down. Look at the traditional way. It's all founded on intuition, brainstorming sessions, surveys and focus groups. It's slow. But then you look at the AI-driven approach. We're talking real-time data, predictive analytics, AI simulations. It's just faster, smarter, and way more precise. And really, it all boils down to this. The old way creates a nice-sounding slogan. The new, data-driven approach creates a value proposition that is literally engineered to convert. So we get it, data's better, but how do we actually do it? Well, the answer is in these 4 key pillars. Think of this as the anatomy of a truly modern, effective value proposition. Here they are. First, data-backed customer pain points. Second, real-time competitive differentiation. Third, quantified value expression. And fourth, evidence-based proof points. This is your blueprint. Let's dig in each one. First up, customer pain points. And this one is huge. Instead of sitting in a boardroom guessing what frustrates your customers, you use AI to analyze what they're actually saying in reviews and complaints on social media. You find the real patterns. Here's a perfect example. A fintech company might assume everyone just wants low interest rates. But the data, the actual customer complaints, shows that it's the hidden fees that are really making people angry and causing them to leave. Boom. That single insight leads directly to a killer UVP, total fee transparency. Pillar 2 is all about competitive differentiation. This means you're using analytics to find the empty space on the playing field. You're looking for those strategic gaps that your competitors are completely ignoring, and that's the space you can own. For instance, think about the food delivery world. Everybody is screaming about fastest delivery. But what if your data shows there's a huge underserved group of customers who care way more about healthy options? Suddenly, you're not competing in the speed war anymore. Your UVP becomes health-first deliveries, and you've just carved out your own defensible niche. The third pillar is all about value expression. Look, vague promises are just weak. They don't land. A data-driven UVP puts a real number on the benefit, making the impact totally tangible and super easy to grasp. So instead of saying something flimsy like, we help you cut costs, a quantified UVP says, save 40% on monthly software costs. See the difference? That specific number, that 40%, grabs your attention. It's concrete, it's credible, and it is way more persuasive. And that brings us to our final pillar, proof points. This is where you just ditch all the fluffy marketing adjectives and replace them with hard evidence. Let's be real, people are more skeptical than ever. Data is one of the most powerful tools you have to build genuine trust. I mean, the difference is just crystal clear. Trusted worldwide? What does that even mean? It's just noise. But used by 120,000 businesses across 20 countries? Now that is a statement. The numbers do all the talking for you. So there you have it. That's the what, the 4 pillars of a great UVP. Now let's get into the how. What's the AI-powered toolkit that actually makes all of this possible? And look, this isn't some far-off science fiction. These are real techniques marketers can use right now. We're talking about deep AI market research, predictive segmentation, analyzing customer sentiment. You can even test your messaging with AI to make sure it works before you spend a single dollar. And there are tons of tools out there to get the job done. For market research, you have platforms like SimilarWeb and SEMrush. For segmentation, Amplitude. For sentiment analysis, BrandWatch. The point is, this is a very real, very accessible strategy, not just some abstract theory. Okay, but having the insights is only half the battle. Creating real impact is what matters. So here's a simple framework for putting all this data into action. The process is a pretty straightforward cycle. You audit your current UVP, collect all your data inputs, let the AI do its analysis, then you craft the new version. The really crucial steps are validating it rapidly and then scaling and evolving it. It's a continuous loop of improvement. And because the whole process is data-driven, the way you measure success has to be data-driven too. You stop asking fuzzy questions like, do people like it? And you start asking hard questions like, did it lift conversions? And can we attribute actual revenue to this message? So, to sum it all up, a data-driven UVP is so much more than a tagline. You can think of it as a brand contract. It's a promise you're making to deliver a very distinct kind of value, and you have the evidence to prove you can do it. And this really leaves us with just one final question for you to think about. Is your brand's promise built on an assumption, or is it built on proof? Because honestly, the answer to that question could define your future growth.